My name is Juliet Rowe. I'm 32 years old, and every morning starts the same. A strong cup of espresso, the weather forecast humming softly in the background. A quiet walk through downtown Durham, North Carolina, to the corner office I helped build from scratch. I'm the co-founder and COO of NeuroGeneva, a biotech firm specializing in neurogenetic treatments for degenerative disorders. It's not glamorous. It's not easy to explain over dinner, but it's mine. Most people think success comes with noise, celebrations, toasts, recognition. For me, success came in silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind that fills a room after someone you love tells you you're not enough. My family hasn't spoken to me in over 2 years. Not a single call, no holiday messages, no birthday texts, just a long, steady silence. Like a door that was closed and no one ever bothered to open again. And the truth? I didn't slam it shut. I stood in front of it for years, knocking, asking, hoping. But one day I realized it had never really been open to begin with. I grew up in the same modest home where my sister Melissa was a golden light and I was the shadow that followed her. 3 years older, Melissa was everything a daughter should be, graceful, well-dressed, effortlessly likable. She had the kind of smile that made relatives lean in and whisper, "She's going to marry someone important." She did, or at least she tried. At family dinners, people flocked around her with admiration like moths to a chandelier. "Melissa, you look stunning. Melissa, your boyfriend's a CFO? How impressive." And then came my turn. If anyone remembered me at all, it was a passing line like, "Juliet's doing something with biotech." I think that word, something, stuck with me. Like my entire career, my whole existence, was just a vague placeholder between Melissa's spotlight moments. I used to believe that if I just worked hard enough, if I stayed quiet and carried the weight behind the scenes, one day they'd turn and say, "We're proud of you too, Juliet." So I worked. While Melissa traveled through relationships and job changes, I was in the lab at midnight troubleshooting a public health project worth over $2 million. I was securing funding rounds, managing clinical trials, training teams. But none of that ever reached the dinner table. I wasn't jealous. I was invisible. Even in family photos, I always stood to the side, shoulders slightly turned, eyes not quite meeting the camera. You wouldn't notice unless you looked carefully. And no one ever did. I told myself it was just how families worked. Some children shine louder, others contribute quietly. I didn't need praise. I just needed to belong. But as the years went by, I began to notice a pattern. Every time something went wrong, a broken fridge, a missed payment, an unexpected repair, I was the one they called. Not for conversation, not for care, just for help. When Melissa lost her job briefly, my mother asked if I could cover the cable bill for a few months. And I did. When my dad's car broke down, I wired money that same evening. $6,000 a month, sometimes more. No one ever asked if I was okay. They assumed I was, because I always said yes, until one day I didn't. It was the week of my mother's birthday, March 23rd. I had just secured our latest investment deal and was planning to surprise them by flying home early. Nothing dramatic. Just wanted to help out, chop some vegetables, light some candles, be there, like I always had. But that phone call, the one that changed everything, it started like any other, and ended with my father saying 9 words I will never forget. "If you insist on coming, don't call me your daughter." My father didn't say it in anger. His voice wasn't raised. There was no drama, just a pause. Then that cold, flat sentence, like a transaction, a decision, a door, quietly locked from the inside. I sat there, holding my phone like it might start ringing again and undo what had just happened. But it didn't. The screen dimmed. The silence returned. And all I could hear was my own heartbeat. I didn't cry. Tears are for grief. This was something colder, something heavier. I sat alone in my apartment, the same apartment where I'd celebrated small wins no one cared to hear about. The same apartment where I'd reheated leftovers while my parents posted pictures of Melissa's birthday dinners and weekend brunches with captions like, "So proud of our shining star." Even when we were kids, it was clear who the star was. Melissa was the daughter you showed off in front of neighbors. The one with perfect handwriting, choir solos, and a closet full of coordinated outfits. I was the one in hand-me-downs and oversized hoodies, always running late from the science lab or buried in a notebook at the back of the room. On her 16th birthday, they rented a private room at a downtown restaurant and invited over 30 people. When I turned 16, Mom made a pie and said, "Let's keep it low-key. You don't like attention anyway, right?" I nodded. Of course I did. I had learned early that expectations lead to disappointment. So I smiled, thanked her for the pie, and stayed quiet. That became my pattern. Smile, nod, stay quiet. At high school graduation, I was the class valedictorian, but my dad spent more time bragging about Melissa's boyfriend getting into law school than acknowledging my speech. I remember standing on stage, scanning the crowd, hoping for eye contact. My mother clapped, distracted, her phone aimed at Melissa, who was posing in the stands with her date. It didn't hurt right away. Not then. At that age, you think there's always next time. Another chance to be seen. Another opportunity to earn the same warmth they gave so freely to her. But next time never came. Not at college. Not when I launched my startup. Not even when I was invited to speak at a biotech conference in Geneva. My mom's response to the news? Is it safe to travel so far? Melissa, on the other hand, once posted a blurry selfie at a beach bar, and it got framed in their hallway. It became easier to play along, to keep the conversations surface level. Let them think I was fine. Let them treat me like the reliable one, the one who didn't need praise, didn't need calls, didn't need anything at all. I had become convenient, the daughter who quietly footed the bills when things broke, the one who sent flowers on anniversaries, even when no one remembered her birthday, the one who could be trusted to pick up the slack, but never invited to the celebration. Melissa, meanwhile, floated from one impressive partner to the next. The latest one, Daniel Blake, was apparently the crown jewel, handsome, articulate, head of finance at a rising firm. My parents couldn't stop gushing. "He's so well-spoken, Juliet. You'll understand when you meet him, he's going places." They didn't know I had already met him. But not as my sister's boyfriend, as someone I was about to approve in a corporate transfer, someone who was about to become my direct report. Of course, they didn't know that. Why would they? They never asked what I really did, never asked what NeuroGeneva was. To them, it was just some office thing. That's why the phone call stung more than anything. Not because they asked me not to come, but because they believed my presence would make them look bad. It was late March, just a few days before my mother's birthday. I had just returned from a trip to New York. 3 long meetings in 2 days, all leading to a closed deal with one of the top health investment firms in the country. We secured the capital we'd been chasing for 6 months. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was looking at flight tickets back home. I hadn't visited in nearly 2 years. Not because I didn't want to, but because there never seemed to be a reason. This year, I wanted to change that. I told myself, maybe this time if I showed up, if I helped out like I always did, maybe things would feel normal again. So I cleared my calendar, rearranged meetings, and picked up the phone. My father answered. His voice was quiet, measured, almost polite. I'm planning to come home early this year. I thought I could help with the birthday prep. Let me know if you need anything. I can pick it up on the way. There was a pause, a long, strange pause, then a throat clear. Juliet, if possible, don't come home this year. My heart stopped. My brain scrambled for meaning. I've already cleared my schedule, I said quickly, trying to fill the silence. I really want to be there. He didn't soften. If anything, his voice got firmer. Melissa is bringing her new boyfriend. He's a CFO, very polished, very successful. The whole family's looking forward to meeting him. And your job, it's hard to explain. It'll just create tension. Comparisons. Comparisons. He said it like it was a bad thing. Like my existence, my presence, might ruin their image. So, you think I'd make things awkward? That I'd embarrass the family? Silence. Then came the blow. If you insist on coming, then don't call me your father. Click. The call ended. No argument. No yelling. Just a finality so sharp it split the air in my apartment. I stood frozen in my kitchen, the warmth from the kettle behind me fading fast. I stared at the phone in my hand like it had betrayed me. Like somehow if I just looked long enough, the call would reverse itself. The words would take themselves back. But they didn't. Instead, those words echoed, cold, deliberate, and unmistakable. Don't call me your father. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't say it in anger. That was the part that hurt the most. It wasn't heat. It was ice. I sank into the chair by the window, clutching the ceramic mug I'd poured 5 minutes ago. The coffee had gone cold, untouched. I didn't move. I just sat there, still, as the early spring light filtered through the sheer curtains. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. Just hollow. Like something I had quietly protected for years had finally shattered. Like a string I'd kept tying back together had finally snapped. That day, something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet realization. I wasn't part of the family anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either. I just sat at my desk, staring at the soft glow of my laptop screen, my hands resting still on the keyboard. The room was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't soothe you. It exposes you. The call with my father played over in my head, like a recording I couldn't turn off. Don't come home. Don't call me your daughter. I didn't think about fighting it. I didn't think about explaining myself. For once, I didn't feel the need to prove anything. Instead, I opened my banking app. I didn't hesitate. For the last 2 years, I had been paying nearly every utility bill for my parents. Electricity, water, internet, cable, over $6,000 a month on average. Sometimes more when the fridge broke down or when Melissa's job change meant tight times for the family. I was the silent solution, the unspoken safety net, the backup plan no one thanked. But everyone counted on. I clicked into the transaction history. Month after month after month. My name, my money, flowing into a house I wasn't welcome in. A house I hadn't stepped into in over 2 years. A family that hadn't sent me so much as a Christmas card. But they never forgot to send bills. The total glared back at me. $15,720.40. Not a single thank you. Not once. I hovered my cursor over the auto-pay options. My finger didn't even tremble. Cancel electric bill? Yes. Cancel water? Yes. Cancel internet and cable? Yes. With each click, I felt something loosen in my chest. Something that had been tightly wounded for years. I wasn't being cruel. I wasn't trying to punish them. I was just done. Done pretending I was still part of something that never saw me. Done apologizing for not being easy to introduce at dinner. Done supporting people who didn't see me as a daughter, but as a monthly transfer. I didn't send a message. I didn't warn anyone. There were no fireworks. No confrontación. Just silence. The same silence they had given me. And in that moment, for the first time, I realized something deeply, undeniably true. They didn't reject me because I was cold or difficult or different. They rejected me because I stopped playing the role they wrote for me. The reliable one, the quiet one, the one who'd always say yes. Now, I had said no. March 23rd arrived with the kind of stillness that felt like a held breath. I woke up early, as I always did, and brewed my usual cup of peppermint tea. The city outside my window was just beginning to stir. The light was soft, the air was crisp, and for the first time in years, I had no reason to check my messages. I didn't call. I didn't send a card. I didn't post a polite photo of Mom and me smiling through gritted teeth. Not out of spite, but because pretending had finally become more exhausting than silence. I sat on the balcony, wrapped in a knit cardigan, sipping my tea slowly as the hour hand crept toward 5 o'clock. That was usually when the party started. Streamers, smiling guests, and Melissa, of course, perfectly styled, proudly introducing her newest boyfriend. At exactly 5:08 p.m., my phone buzzed. Mom, Juliet, can you check the power? The lights just went out and the oven's not working. It's an important day. I placed the phone face down on the table. 10 minutes later, another buzz. Dad, no water, no internet. Call the providers. Your mom's freaking out. I stared out at the tree line behind my building. No ride, no guilt, just an eerie calm. Not once did they ask, "Are you okay?" Not a word about the call that cut me off. Just commands, like always. Then Melissa chimed in. The internet's down. Guests are arriving. Mom's almost in tears. What's going on? I picked up my phone, typed a response, then deleted it. What I almost sent. 3 weeks ago, Dad told me if I insisted on coming home, I shouldn't call him my daughter. I'm just doing what he asked. If that's inconvenient, maybe find someone you're not ashamed to introduce. But I didn't press send. Why? Because it didn't matter. Because no matter what I wrote, they'd only hear what fit their story. So I put the phone down again. Let them sit in the dark. Let the oven stay cold. Let the Wi-Fi remain dead. Let the image crack just enough to show the truth beneath it. At 7 p.m., a voicemail arrived. Melissa's voice was tight, bordering on panic. Mom's been crying since last night. Do you even care? This was supposed to be the big day. Daniel met everyone today, and everything went wrong. You're so selfish. Selfish. That word used to crush me. Now it just slid off. I listened to the message once, then turned off my phone. For years, I hadn't been selfish enough. Now, it was time. The next morning, the storm hadn't passed. It had only just begun. I was reviewing weekend operations reports on my laptop when I noticed an email subject line that made my breath hitch. New Jersey staff transfer to Durham HQ awaiting approval. I clicked. It was part of our expansion plan, moving select financial leads into the main office. I skimmed the list, eyes scanning, then stopped. Daniel Blake, head of finance, New Jersey branch. I blinked once, then twice. Daniel. Melissa's Daniel? My memory kicked in. A handshake at a biotech leadership conference 6 months ago. Polite, firm. He called me co-founder Roe and didn't blink twice. He hadn't made the connection. Neither had I. Until now. And suddenly everything aligned. The man my father wanted to impress. The one so successful they couldn't risk me standing next to. The reason I was asked not to come home. Was about to start reporting directly to me. I stared at his file for a long moment, a wry smile tugging at the corner of my lips. I didn't feel vindictive. I didn't even feel triumphant. Just oddly weightless. The universe had written the script for me. I didn't have to say a word. The next morning, Daniel arrived at NeuroGeneva's Durham office. He was dressed sharply, just like in his resume photo. Navy suit, brown shoes, the kind of man Melissa loved introducing. He stepped into my office holding a folder, expecting someone else. Then he saw me. His eyes widened, froze, color drained from his face. Juliet. I smiled faintly. Calm, professional, the kind of smile that doesn't need to explain itself. Welcome to NeuroGeneva, I said. I'll be reviewing your department's quarterly financials. I look forward to working with you, Daniel. He didn't move. For a second, he looked like he wanted to say something, maybe apologize, maybe run. But he didn't. He simply nodded, handed me the folder, and walked out, stiff and pale. I didn't chase him. I didn't call Melissa. I didn't message my parents. I just sat there, letting the weight of the moment settle around me like morning fog. They had spent weeks preparing for his visit, curated the perfect version of our family, framed Melissa like a queen, excluded me like a stain they didn't want seen. And yet, in the end, he walked straight into my office and called me boss. That evening, as the city lights blinked on outside my window, my phone buzzed again. A long message from Melissa. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at the notification glowing faintly on the screen, already knowing the tone. Accusatory, wounded, dramatic. After a few minutes, I tapped it open. You knew all along, didn't you? You let it happen, right in the middle of the party. Mom's been crying nonstop. Daniel doesn't even know how to react. Don't you think that was cruel, Juliet? Cruel. That word had circled me my entire life. But only now, when I stopped giving, stopped nodding, stopped carrying the weight for everyone else. Now I was cruel? I set the phone down and made myself a cup of ginger tea. Let it steep. Let the steam swirl into the air and soften the tightness in my throat. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt clear. 10 minutes later, I picked up the phone and typed a reply. You say I was cruel, but I was just at home. I didn't start the video call. I didn't call myself his boss. I didn't do anything. And if one truth was enough to ruin the whole party, maybe that party was never built on anything real in the first place. I hit send. No emojis. No punctuation flourish. Just a plain, stripped-down message, like the clarity I had waited years to claim. Half an hour later, another buzz. This time, my mother. Her message was short. I never expected you to choose this way to get back at the family. I exhaled. Slow and long. Get back? Is that what they thought this was? Retribution. They truly didn't see it. Even now, even after everything. They still believed this was about revenge, about bitterness, about some cold-hearted punishment. But it wasn't. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I was simply done trying to be enough. The next morning came quietly. I returned to my desk like any other Monday, reviewed investor updates, skimmed through operational reports, answered a few team messages. It was just another work day, except it wasn't, because at 9:14 a.m. a new email arrived. From Daniel Blake's subject, apology, and goodbye. I hesitated before opening it, then clicked. Juliet, I don't know where to start. After what happened yesterday, I couldn't sleep. I've been thinking. Maybe it shouldn't have happened like that, in front of everyone, but still I feel something shifted, something necessary, especially about you. I'm not ashamed that you're Melissa's sister. I'm ashamed that I didn't see her clearly sooner. I can't stay in a relationship where basic respect doesn't exist. As of today, I'm ending things with her, and I wanted to thank you, not just for your silence, but for the way you lead, quiet, strong, and fair. Daniel, I read the message twice, not because I didn't understand it, but because something inside me needed to feel it again. Not the apology, not the breakup, the recognition. He didn't pity me. He didn't over-explain. He saw me. I typed a reply slowly. Daniel, you don't need to apologize. Everyone is responsible for how they choose to see others. And don't worry, I never bring family into work. But I hope now you understand. Sometimes silence is the greatest strength. I clicked send, closed my email, sat back. There was no satisfaction in knowing Melissa had been left. No joy in her tears. I didn't need her to suffer. I just needed the illusion to end. And for once, it wasn't me who had to say it. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a brief second, I thought maybe it was a neighbor or a delivery mix-up. but something nudged me to glance through the peephole. And there they were, my parents, standing stiffly on the porch. My mother holding a small tote bag in both hands, her eyes tired and red. My father standing behind her, arms crossed, posture tense, face unreadable. I froze, not from fear, not from hope, just disbelief. I opened the door slowly, said nothing. "Hi, honey," my mother whispered first, her voice strained like someone coming off a long flight. "Can we come in? Just to talk." "For a bit." I stepped aside. No hugs, no warm smiles, just the low creak of the hallway floor as they entered a home they'd never bothered to visit before. I poured water into 2 glasses, placed them on the coffee table, then sat across from them. The silence was heavy. They looked around at the clean, uncluttered space, the small plant near the window, the books lined up along the shelf. It was a life they had never asked about, a space they had never stepped into. Until now. My dad spoke first. "About your mom's birthday," he paused, eyes avoiding mine. "I said some things I shouldn't have." I waited. No apology. No, I was wrong. Just a vague statement tossed out like a rope, hoping I'd pull it into forgiveness. Then he continued, slower this time. "Claire's been a mess since the breakup. Your mom's been crying every night. We thought maybe we could sit down and talk, like a family." Still, I said nothing, just nodded slightly, waiting, because I knew where this was going. And sure enough, my mother leaned forward, unzipping the tote bag and pulling out a single sheet of paper. "Well," she began, "we've been thinking. You're stable now. Your job is great. If possible, we're hoping you could help us with a monthly contribution. Nothing much. Just enough to cover living costs, insurance, and some retirement savings." She slid the paper forward. $2,000 per month. My father jumped in, eager to defend it. "It's not a lot. Not for someone in your position. We're not asking for much. You know, we're family." I leaned back, stared down at the numbers like they were written in another language. Then I looked up, calm, steady. "What about Melissa?" My mom's face twitched. "She's not doing well. After the breakup. Her work's a mess. We can't pressure her right now." I let out a soft laugh. Not bitter. Just tired. Melissa can't be pressured. And I've always been the one who could. "I said if Melissa agrees to contribute her part, $1,000 a month, and we sign a clear contract stating that when you both pass, all assets, including the house, will belong to me, then I'll consider it." The silence, after that, was deafening. My father's brow furrowed. His cheeks flushed red. "Are you seriously giving your own parents conditions?" I didn't blink. Not conditions. Principles. "I've already spent nearly $16,000 on this family in the past 2 years, without so much as a thank you. If you want me to keep contributing, then it needs to be documented. Clear. Fair." My mother looked at him, voice faltering. "Maybe we should just talk it over first." But my father shot up from his seat, palm slamming the wooden table so hard the glasses rattled. "We raised you for over 20 years, and now you're putting a price tag on that. You're unbelievable." I stayed seated, eyes steady, voice low. "Then let's calculate it, line by line. But I'm done paying for it with silence." He stared at me, like I was someone he'd never met. My mother stood slowly, fingers brushing his sleeve. "Let's go." I followed them to the door. No hugs, no goodbyes, just the sound of their footsteps fading down the stairwell. When the door finally closed behind them, I stood still, not relieved, not angry, just free. After that day, I didn't hear from them again. No calls, no messages, no accusations, not even an apology for the outburst that shattered the calm of my home like a thrown stone. But I wasn't surprised. I had grown used to that kind of silence, the kind that didn't come from remorse, but from people who suddenly realized they weren't in control anymore. And when control slips, some people choose absence over reflection. I kept living, mornings with coffee, evenings filled with strategy meetings, days where I signed deals with firms that once questioned whether a woman in her 30s could run a biotech company. I no longer paused before hitting send on a budget approval. I no longer shrank back when someone called me ma'am in the hallway. I didn't owe anyone my softness anymore, especially not the people who confused love with obligation, and thought my success was something to be hidden behind closed curtains. I stopped feeling guilty. I stopped wondering if I was being too cold, too distant, too different. I stopped answering questions with half-truths just to keep the peace. Because peace, real peace, doesn't come from being accepted by people who only see your worth when you're useful. It comes when you stop asking to be seen and start looking inward instead. I changed little things first. Removed the family photo from my phone's lock screen. Unfollowed Melissa on social media. Didn't set reminders for birthdays or holidays. Didn't send flowers. Didn't wait for theirs. I began to put the period at the end of my sentences instead of waiting for them to begin theirs. And slowly the guilt unraveled. One nut at a time. One evening, after another long day at the office, I stopped by a quiet cafe I used to visit during the early startup years. The kind of place where I once sat alone with my laptop, trying to build something real while the world outside buzzed with small talk and wedding plans and family brunches I was never invited to. I took the same seat by the window, ordered the same hot latte, and noticed something I hadn't seen before, a small wooden sign carved into the wall near the register. Home is not always a place. Sometimes it's a choice. I stared at those words for a long time, let them settle into me, like warmth after a cold winter walk. Because that was it, wasn't it? That's what they never understood. I wasn't trying to leave the family. I was trying to find one, even if it meant building it for myself. There was a time I believed that if I just stayed quiet, stayed helpful, stayed small, one day I would be loved in return. But the truth is, if you let people get used to disrespecting you, they'll start to see your sacrifices as obligations and your silence as agreement. They'll rewrite the story until you look like the one who walked away, when in reality, you were the only one still standing there, holding the door open. I didn't choose to be cold. I chose to stop begging. I didn't choose to cut them off. I chose to stop bleeding. I didn't seek revenge. I chose dignity, because love without respect is just emotional debt, and family without accountability is just a performance. So if someone were to ask me today, do you regret not helping your parents when they needed you? My answer would be simple. I regret that it took me so long to realize. I deserved more than that, because real family is where you're seen as a whole person, not a wallet, not a shadow, not a backup plan, just you, fully, honestly, enough. And if my story made you pause, if it made something ache quietly in your chest, like a memory you've tried to silence, then I have a question for you. Do you think I was too harsh? Or did I finally learn how to love myself at the right time? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because sometimes your truth might be the light someone else needs when they're standing at the door, unsure if they should finally walk away. And if you've ever felt alone in your own family, believe me, you're not.